Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. Thanks for watching us today. My name is Rich Tehrani. We're at the Cloud Expo 2011 in Manhattan. On our program is Wim Gerrits. He is the CEO of netYCE. And Wim, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks very much, Rich. Yeah, I'm fine.
So tell me a little bit about your company. What do you do and how did you get started?
We are a software company out of Holland, and we have a solution that does network automation. So what we do is actually we automate anything that goes into the networking and switching and routing devices. So it's a multi-vendor solution that will automatically configure and provision any change, any configuration to a multi-vendor network.
So it's a layer that sits on top of the networking products and services, allowing you to modify them kind of without having to know each OS of each one of those different companies, but rather they would know your, I guess, either your language or your interface to control one level below, correct?
Well, it's actually, yes. In essence, it's a central compository platform, has a central CMDB system, which contains all of the information that's needed to generate a configuration. What we've done is actually a full process thing. We started modeling the design, so it's like a network design and architect team. They thought about how a network should look like. We modeled it in our tool. It has integrated IP management with all the data and the system. We can actually generate and create the configuration and then push it out to the network. So we enforce standardization into the network, and then we can actually do full automation with it later on. Yeah.
So tell me, in terms of cost savings, how much would a company or could a company save by utilizing a solution like yours?
Sure.
I imagine they have to be a certain size, right? They have to have a large, dare I say, large amount of networking equipment to make it worthwhile. But at that point, how does the savings come in, and how do you measure the return on the investment?
Right. I mean, we started, as a good example, I mentioned we started deploying this, started actually building it originally for a large bank, AAA bank in Holland, called Rabobank. We started building that, and they had a team of about 30 to 35 network engineers and operating people to maintain and run the network and do changes to the network. At the moment, it's 4 or 5 people, and they typically run sort of from hundreds to 5,000 changes unattended overnight. So that's been a huge cost saving in terms of just money, in terms of operational cost to the FTE. But I think that's not the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing is to actually very quickly deploy new services to the network overnight without any error, controlled. I think that's a very big advantage.
Because we've seen outages. Amazon recently had a configuration issue with one of its products that took down an entire portion of their cloud services. Exactly. And so, what you're saying is that you can test what you're going to do to your network, and once you've seen that it's going to work okay and not have any side effects, in theory, that's going to translate into the real world and not have any problems there too.
Exactly. So what we've been doing, if you look at traditional networking, so the engineer, they configure the configuration into the network, and then actually a lot of changes going on over many periods of time. So in the end, it's a big question mark on what is actually in the network. So quite a lot of people are afraid to actually roll out new things. They have to look at it and investigate it, figure out the topology and relationships, IP addresses and everything. What we've done is the other way around. So we've come from a top-down approach, whereby we actually start put the design in control and put our system in control of actually configuring the device. So if you look at implementation where we actually are in control, nobody's touching the device directly on the CLI anymore. So that's done by our tool. But the engineer actually works via our system. So he's sitting like behind the steer of a very quick Ferrari that can actually do it for him. So it's not an expert system, but it will actually automate based on the standard modeling and design in our system throughout the network. So, and the way it's done is you test the configuration in the lab if you want to do a change, and then when that's right, you actually enforce it via the system. So you're 100% sure that it's implemented in the right way. It's controlled by our platform.
So in terms of the vendors that you support, I imagine Cisco, Juniper, HP? Those are guesses.
Yeah, well, we got Nortel of Avaya currently supported. But in essence, we support any multi-vendor network that has a CLI interface, because we don't specifically need to understand the language of Juniper or like iOS for Cisco. I mean, for Cisco, we support all the range through. But in essence, we take sort of the language how an engineer would write his commands, and we take it and template it and parameterize it in our platform. So we only take like a few days for us to support any new vendor. We just have to look at some error message coming back and forth, but in essence, it's, as I said, it's the operator, the engineer behind the system that still does the same thing, although it's fully automated and foolproof before you actually push it down to the network.
Great. What's next for the company?
Well, as I said, a new startup company with a mature product. So the company actually started off last year once we get the IPR rights from our customers from Rabobank last year, and we are looking at how we can bring this quickly to market. We understand we have 2 years ahead of some of the major software players in this market, and we can either work with them, so looking in companies like IBM or HP, CA, they have configuration management product, but they don't do it the way we do it. So it's very complementary. So we are in a partnering model for the enterprise customers, and for the cloud, for us it's a very interesting market, because if you look at automation, it's very common for the server and like VMware and all the system side of things. But on the network layer, there's really non-solution, and that's where we might be having a separate channel to go for the hosting companies. So it's exciting times. Yeah.
That's good. Well, thanks for coming on the program. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much. Bye.